Okay.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. We are here with another episode of the Antler Queens podcast. I am Media Melanie Rose, and here we have...
I'm Kelly. Hello.
And today is our third episode. We're going to be covering episode 3 called The Dollhouse. But before we dive into the episode, we just wanted to recap a little bit of Yellowjackets news. We found out that Ella Purnell, who of course plays Teen Jackie, is going to star in Fallout, the TV series. Kelly, talk more about that.
Well, Variety states, who's Purnell playing? We have no goddamn idea, since Amazon is keeping extremely tight-lipped about this particular show, which is being produced by Westworld creator Jonathan Nolan. All we've got to go on is that her character might be named Jean and be a young woman with a can-do attitude who may be hiding a dangerous secret. Also, she could possibly be the protagonist of the show. She's one that I think is really going to blow up.
I think, I think so too. Jackie's been a really great role for her, and I'm excited to see what she does next and learn more about, exactly what she will be playing in that new series Fallout. Yeah. And just one more little piece of news or something we saw on Instagram and wanted to share. Christina Ricci posted a photo of her and Sammy Hanratty, who of course plays Teen Misty. They were at the GLAAD Awards, and they're both dressed in these beautiful dresses, and just wanted to shout out how great the casting is for Misty's character, really all the characters in Yellowjackets. They look really cute, and it's funny seeing them side by side like that. So just
it is, because you almost forget that they're different people sometimes when you're watching the show.
Yep, exactly. They both bring so much to the Misty character and are equally wonderful in teen and adult versions. So just thought we'd share that. And now let's dive into the episode. Again, it is episode 3. It is called The Dollhouse. It was directed by Ava Sorhag. Writers Ashley Lyle, Bart Nickerson, and Sarah L. Thompson. And how about the episode recap, Kelly?
The Yellowjackets debate the merits of probably dying while staying put, or probably dying while looking for shelter. Taissa navigates a dirty attack ad and the other C word, cannibalism, obviously. Shauna sees about a boy.
Yes, and we open with a past timeline. We are back in 1996, and we see the girls having a funeral for everybody who sadly perished in the crash. And we see a separate grave marker for Coach Scott's leg, which is funny. Yep. And, a lot of the discussions in the fan groups reference Coach Scott's leg in kind of funny ways. So that's kind of a running joke throughout. But, they buried his leg and everybody else and had a little funeral, which actually contains my favorite 90s moment in the whole show. Van was eulogizing Rachel and said that she was going to see Oasis at the Meadowlands last month. She was really excited, and now she'll never hear Wonderwall again.
God, I love Van.
Yeah, she has the best one-liners, and I just love the, nostalgia. Music is such a key part of Yellowjackets, and just getting some 90s bands referenced in there. I thought that was a really funny little nostalgic nod there.
For sure. What do you think the chances are that when the girls got rescued, Misty went back and grabbed Ben's leg?
I would say high to very high. She is clearly very into Coach Ben. And of course, she chopped his leg off with an axe without hardly any hesitation. So I would say very, very high chances. And during the funeral, we hear more references to trigonometry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And excuse me. Sadly, they apparently lost Rachel, who was the trigonometry expert. Who knows? Maybe we'll find out that they could have gotten out of the woods sooner if they had her with them.
That's right. She never confused her secants and cosecants. So Rachel was apparently a math genius, and she will not be bringing those mathematical skills to the table here in the wilderness.
Very sad. And apparently she's the only one they really cared about because she's the only one they eulogized.
Yep. Yep. Then, as they're doing this kind of funeral thing, we see a flashback. Taissa starts remembering a moment where she sat with her dying grandmother and leaves the prayer circle and then says she's, going for a walk. And it kind of flashes into that scene with her grandmother again. And she's telling her that dying is nothing to be afraid of. So that's an interesting flashback into Taissa's childhood, maybe setting the table for who she is and why she is that way.
Yeah, for sure. This episode kind of focuses on Taissa a lot with the 3 timelines, and I found that really interesting. And it's like she seems to have she's had this supernatural element following her around her entire life, but she doesn't really buy into it, which is kind of interesting.
It is interesting. And, then we move into a present timeline where we have more Taissa. She gets an email from her campaign manager, Bethany, and says that they have a problem. And what is that problem?
There is a link in the email, and Taissa opens it up, and it's a commercial for her opponent, Phil Bathurst. First of all, I didn't even realize that anybody ran commercials for state senate. I don't even know if most people know who their state senators are. So I found that kind of amusing. But the ad stated that Taissa Turner will cannibalize your tax dollars. And then it shows a photo of her eating ribs. And there's just barbecue sauce all over her face. It looks like it was photoshopped onto her face. Just making this just vicious expression. It was funny and horrific at the same time.
I mean, talk about a terrible, opponent attack ad. I mean, referencing cannibalism, but also kind of clever at the same time. You got to capitalize on that, right?
Yeah. And I mean, attack ads have everyone runs attack ads, but this is one of those attack ads that I think would probably work against him.
Right. It's a little tacky. Then, we see Simone, who is Taissa's wife, trying to comfort her, saying that she's better than this. And then, of course, Ty comes back with a snarky remark and says, I bet if I dug around in his past, I'd find his family owned a slave or two. Put that in an ad.
I loved that. Loved that because, nobody's going to care about that. I mean, they should, but, they should care more about that stuff than what she did while she was stranded in the wilderness during a traumatic experience. But, it's, I loved that line.
Yep. She's kind of a badass, and I love that she's so fierce, and she definitely puts that out there quite a bit, especially throughout this episode.
For sure.
And then we shift to a still present timeline. So 2021, we see adult Shauna's house, and her husband, Jeff, is making some juice. Says he added a little bit of more celery this time, and it's good for your blood pressure, according to the guy at Planet Fitness. Little plug there for Planet Fitness. And then, Shauna says she actually likes her blood pressure high. And, if you want to get your heart rate up, just say the word. And here we, have another little incident between her and Jeff where she asks him a question and he's unable to help her. So what happened there?
Yeah, she asked him to pick her up at the mechanic shop. And it was fairly far away, so an Uber would be expensive. And he got kind of awkward, and it was kind of obvious that he wasn't being truthful with her. And he told her that one of the guys was out, and they were getting a delivery, so he had to be at work because he likes to lead from the front. And she wasn't buying it, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she definitely was not. And, that kind of sets the table for the behavior we see from Shauna as we progress in the episode. Yeah. And here we are again with another storyline in the present. We have Misty and Nat in the car, and they're driving to New Hampshire to see Travis. And I believe this song playing here is your favorite song from the episode. Is that correct?
No, it's not my favorite. I just laughed at it. I just thought it was hilarious. Apparently between podcasts and show tunes won out. But she's listening to Mr. Mistopheles from Cats. And because of course she is. and she's talking about dating and all these guys that she's been on dates with. And one stole office supplies, and one asked for her socks afterwards, but never called her. And she, because of this conversation here, she gets my MVP this week, or not MVP, most likely to this week, for being most likely to inspire a Misery prequel. Because who knows what she's doing with these dudes that she's dating.
Yes. Most likely to inspire a Misery prequel. I love that. And I love the laser beam photo you put together as a nod to a yearbook there. Very nice.
Yeah, hiking guy who asked for her socks never called, but I that could be because he's in her freezer. Who knows?
That could be. I liked one comment that Misty made here. She said that dating at their age is kind of like, you're getting the crumbs at the bottom of the chip bag. So, she's clearly very into dating and finding somebody, but unfortunately, selection's not so great. So good luck, Misty.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Natalie's just not really tuned into the conversation at all.
Natalie does not want to be in the car with Misty whatsoever. And they pull into a gas station, and Nat asks Misty to grab some snacks. And Misty's asking what she wants. Nat says chocolate's good. And she's just like, get out of the car, Misty, right? So finally Misty goes into the store, and while she's in there getting food, Nat opens the glove compartment and finds the battery cable from Nat's car.
Yeah.
Which now we find out that, Misty definitely sabotaged her car so that they could take this road trip together. Misty is one sneaky bee. Oh my goodness.
No kidding. And did you catch when she walked into the store, Natalie told her what to get, and she was like, okay. And Natalie kind of mocked her. She's like, okay. I thought that was funny.
Yes. And then, Misty's eating jerky, and I mean, we're talking about cannibalism and all this, and, here she is eating jerky while Nat is just enjoying a simple Snickers bar, and Nat's like, really? Come on. Oh, so Misty just, one thing after another. Oh my goodness.
So inappropriate.
Yep.
Misty's just like, what? It's good. I like jerky.
Yes. And we then move back into a past timeline. We get back to 1996. They are 3 days into the wilderness after the plane crash, and the girls are rationing their food and water. Jackie's got some poison ivy, very uncomfortable, scratching it. And Travis comes over and steals some of the snacks. And I actually love this line too. Lottie says, who died and made him king of the snacks? And then Nat says,
his dad, Lottie. Literally his fucking dad.
That was a great line. I absolutely loved it. And you know what? Cut Travis a little bit of slack. His dad died. He wants some snacks. Granted, maybe they should be conserving, but at this point, they're still holding out hope that rescue is imminent. So
yes.
Yep. And then Travis finds his little brother Javi and gives him some of the snacks. And oh my God, poor Javi. This is so sad. So he's still chewing the gum that his dad gave him on the flight to help his ears pop. And he didn't want to spit it out. Like, it was the last thing his dad gave him.
I know.
And I mean, it was just really sad, Ooh,
poor kid.
Gosh. Poor kid.
Yeah. And Misty is over there, trying to get Ben to eat. And some people were kind of taking this as her, because she mentioned that he hadn't eaten in a couple of days, and she can't give him any more pain meds until he does. And some people were taking that as her withholding meds, but he's just going to get really sick.
Right. He'll just vomit the medicine right up, and then it will do no good anyway. But, it's interesting you say that, because, of course, we had seen Misty withholding meds in a prior episode in her, job at one of the old person homes. So
yeah, but here we can cut her some slack here. I don't think that's what she was trying to do.
I think so. I mean, she definitely has his best interest at heart. And she
For
has
now.
this whole time. For now, she's clearly obsessed with him. So she, she's doing the right thing, trying to get him to eat. And then we see Lottie, and she's taking meds from her caboodle. Another great 90s moment. Again, I've got my caboodle set up back here. I'm obsessed with caboodles, and I'm going to mention caboodles every single time we see them. So another caboodle shot. Love that 90s nostalgia.
Yep.
And then we see Taissa coming back from her walk. And what did she find?
She found a lake, which is like about the best thing you can find in that situation. Yeah, and she said it's like 4 or 5 miles away. And they kind of all start arguing about what to do because all of their stuff is there. The flight recorder's there, which they don't realize,
which they don't know anything about. Destroyed by Misty, completely destroyed. No more GPS signal.
Exactly. So, I mean, so some of them kind of feel it's better to stay put, but I mean, it's a lake. They need water. I mean, it's, there might be fish in there. I mean, it's, it's
a lake.
It's a lifeline.
Yep.
So they take a vote. Jackie is completely opposed to leaving. Taissa is really pushing to go. They take a vote, and Shauna ends up voting to go to the lake, which I think Jackie's a little disappointed in.
I would say even more than a little. She expects Shauna to always have her back and be on her side. And, here we see Shauna not doing what Jackie wants and not wearing the dress that Jackie wants and actually thinking for herself and making an informed decision, which I think was the right decision. I would have gone to the lake.
Absolutely. And when they start to, the lake wins. And as they're right before they leave, Van goes to grab the compass from the plane, and Shauna writes an SOS gone to lake message on the plane. And as they're walking toward the lake, there's a moment that I really liked where Taissa thanks Shauna for having her back during the vote. And Shauna really asserted herself and made it known that she's not a follower. She said, it wasn't having your back. It was just what I thought. She's making it clear she thinks for herself.
I mean, they're in a survival situation here, screw the friendships and all this stuff. Like, they just need to survive at this point. So, it's good they had a democratic process. The lake won. And so now they're heading to the lake. And luckily for, Coach Ben, they constructed a stretcher to carry him down there, which, gosh, I'm sure was a completely miserable excursion because it seems like it was more than 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it's not exactly smooth terrain. So.
Oh, no.
But there's a little bickering along the way between Jackie and Shauna. And, Shauna offers her some water, and Jackie's just like, your backwash? No, thanks.
I mean, she's too good to drink the water. Like, get over it, Jackie. You know what I mean? Get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so as they're journeying to the lake, we move back to the present timeline again. We hear the song Cambodia by Kim Wilde, and we see Shauna at Jeff's store, Sadecki Furniture. And I'm just popping up that sign here. The sign is pretty funny. It looks like, an 80s furniture store, not a 2021 furniture store. We have Jeff leaning on this roof, Sadecki Furniture Emporium. I mean, it is quite the sign for the furniture store.
Yes.
And we see Jeff exiting the furniture store, and he is carrying a gift. And Shauna decides to take matters into her own hands and follow him. Yeah.
And we see more bad driving from Shauna because she's right behind him. So she's kind of ducking down, like not even watching the road, just trying to not be seen. And this woman's going to really get herself into a nasty accident.
Another accident. I mean, we've already seen her in one accident with Adam, and we're only 3 episodes in. So get it together, Shauna.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, she follows him right to the hotel and sees him get out of the car.
And there's a woman there. And so we're wondering, what are they doing at the hotel? I mean, it's not looking good for Jeff. I would assume an affair would be my assumption at this point, but we will learn more on that.
Yeah, for sure. for sure.
And now we're back to the past again. We see the girls hiking to the lake, and they see something gross. Vultures picking a bear carcass. Someone asked what could have done this, and Coach Ben says probably a wolf, because wolves can kill anything if the pack is big enough. And you know, if you've watched further on, we may look at this as some foreshadowing.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not foreshadowing for Ben's fate, but who knows? It could be.
Right. So yeah, you know, if you've seen further episodes, you're picking up what we're throwing down here. So we then get back to the present. We see Taissa at the park with Sammy, and she's making a phone call. Who is Taissa calling?
She's calling Jessica Roberts. So she's behind Jessica Roberts talking to everybody, which was kind of a shocker.
And now we finally have an answer to one of the questions. You know, who is Jessica Roberts? She said she was a reporter, and, you know, nobody was able to find any information that she was a reporter. So now we've confirmed that Taissa is behind Jessica Roberts, trying to get information and offer these book deals, you know, to the other survivors. So
yeah, I don't buy her. I don't necessarily buy her motivation, though. I think it's a little more to it. She mentions that she's doing this because she doesn't want an October surprise in case anybody talks. And I think there's a little bit more to it than that. I mean,
yep, I think so too. You know, it's a lot for her to sneakily send somebody to talk to the other survivors. I mean, that's a little underhanded, you know, and so there could definitely be more to that. And then, you know, Taissa brings up the attack ad, you know, the cannibalize your tax dollars. And Jessica says, you know, maybe they have to hit back. I guess Broadhurst's daughter is a junkie and has done 3 rehab stints. And she's 18. So according to the 2 women, she's fair game. So if they're going to attack Taissa for, you know, being a cannibal, then they're going to do another low blow and get to her opponent's daughter.
I don't blame her. I mean, that's kind of nasty going after a family member, but
yes, yep. And then, you know, while that's happening, we see Sammy had actually punched a kid on the playground, says he did it, and then, you know, Ty apologizes, but she's a little dismissive. Like, she's so caught up in this campaign that she's really kind of glossing over some of these major issues that are happening with her son. So
yeah, I mean, the other mother comes running up, and she just immediately tries to over-explain the situation, and she apologizes. But she's just like, oh, I guess this is what happened. And it's a little dismissive. But Sammy admitted it right away.
He wasn't trying to lie. He was, he owned it, you know, so.
Yeah, definitely. The next scene is the one that really kind of had me puzzled. Like, I must have watched this back like 3 times just looking for something. It's just this weird, we flash back to the past, and then we just kind of see this weird, ominous scene of them walking to they're walking to the lake still. It's a really brief scene, but there's all of these weird camera angles that looks like it's from a different point of view, like somebody's watching them. And there's this ominous music playing, and it focuses on Taissa. The camera focuses on Taissa a lot, who just is kind of looking around, feeling a little creeped out by something. And I'm hoping that we get more of an explanation for that later on, because it was certainly intriguing.
It was. And, you know, I think things like this kind of have sparked fan discussions about the supernatural element. You know, to this point, we've not confirmed that there is anything supernatural out there, or, you know, that there's anybody alive and watching them. So it will be interesting to kind of track this and see where it goes. As we get a little further, we'll talk about some of the fan theories about, you know, things that could be happening out there. I was going to talk about it in this episode, but I think we'll wait a little more to get into that, so we're not spoiling anything.
Yeah.
But, and then, you know, after this weird little past scene with the creepy, ominous stuff, we are then back in the present again.
Yes. And, you know, we're at Ty's house, and she's with Simone, and they're talking, and Ty's kind of minimizing Sammy's behavior and, you know, saying it wasn't really a big deal, which is kind of crazy. I mean, he punched a kid on the playground. But she mentions that hearing his mom called names brings it out in him, and which, so, he didn't just punch a kid for funsies, I mean,
Right.
clearly something upset him, but
he thought the boy said that he was a cannonball.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's funny, not funny, right? Like, it's not cool to make fun of them, but to get cannibal and cannonball confused and then he punches the kid, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but like, Simone is getting a little aggravated with Ty not really taking it seriously. And so, Ty tries to step it up a little bit, and she goes to talk to Sammy and tells him, she wants to talk about why he hit that kid. And he tells her in a very aggressive voice, be quiet.
I mean, if my kid said that to me, I gotta tell you, that would not fly.
Yeah. And then she takes his doll from him, and then he gets even creepier. And he just like gets right up in her grill and he's like, give him back.
It's creepy. He's a creepy kid. There's clearly stuff happening here with Sammy.
Yeah, for sure. He has like, he's an adorable little boy, but he's definitely got a creepy side.
Yes. As we saw in the last episode with all of the drawings hanging on his window and the woman in the tree. I mean, there's stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we get back to the past again. We get to 1996. The girls are still walking and arguing, saying how long it's taken, way over 4 miles. And Van spots the lake, excitedly runs towards it, and with another great Van one-liner says, oh, hell yeah, bitches. And then we hear my favorite song of the episode, which was Dreams by the Cranberries. Rest in peace to Dolores O'Riordan. I absolutely love this song. I loved the Cranberries. And, I like seeing the girls excited and happy about something. They made it to the lake, here.
It was so great. It was such a great scene. I loved it.
Absolutely. And they're all splashing and having fun. And there was some really cute dialogue. And tell us about that.
Yeah, they Jackie and Mari and Nat were kind of all standing together, and Travis comes by and just kind of playfully splashes them, and or playfully splashes Nat and swims away. And Mari kind of looks at him a little dreamily and says, is Travis actually hot? And Jackie says, it's been 3 days. You guys can't be that desperate. But then the camera shows Natalie just kind of watching him with a smile on her face. And it looks like she might have a little bit of a crush.
Yep, absolutely. I enjoyed that. I thought that was really funny. 3 days in and they're already pouncing. Hey, I mean, it's got to be good to be like, the one age appropriate guy for this huge group of teen girls. I mean, if you've got to be stranded, like, hey, at least you've got some potential mates there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mates, I don't know. Weird word. But then we get back to the present again, and we see Misty and Nat at Travis's house. And you had some notes on the dialogue here. It was really funny. So why don't you run that down for us?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat the dialogue here because all of it was just so good. They come up to Travis's house and they're looking inside, and Misty is like, he tells Nat, you should have brought your rifle. We haven't seen Travis in years. And he moved out to the sticks, changed his name, and the house has Unabomber written all over it.
Creepy.
And I know. And she's like, I don't see a car. Natalie's still peering through the windows, and Misty's just kind of dawdling and says, I don't see a car. We could go back into town, check it out, get some wings, come back later. So Misty's trying to make a trip, an event out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's having fun with it.
Yeah. And and they enter the house, and Misty's first words are, yikes, someone could use a trip to Sunday or Tuesday morning.
I loved that line, and I love Tuesday morning.
I can't say I've ever been to a Tuesday morning.
Oh my God,
Never.
It's great. They have a lot of really great home good type stuff there. So Misty was really spot on with her assessment of the interior decor.
Oh, sure. But yeah, she says, this next part is great.
I love this.
She says, it's never a good sign when a suspect lives like a hermit. We see this kind of thing all the time. And Nat just comes back with, aren't you a nurse? But we know she's also a citizen detective.
Citizen Detective. We actually have some Citizen Detective merch in our shop. I'm going to put that link up. It is antlerqueenspodcast.com. So get your Citizen Detectives merch and more at antlerqueenspodcast.com.
Yeah, and so she, Misty says it's common knowledge that the less a suspect owns, the creepier they turn out to be. And she starts talking about the Gibbsboro ghoul who was stealing teeth. And then Nat just kind of cuts her off and asks her to look in the trash because she saw a can back there. And Misty was just like, oh, that's a really good idea. You know, you can learn so much about a person by going through their personal refuse.
I loved that line. I loved that line. Like,
she seemed to be really excited at the prospect of turning Nat into a fellow citizen detective.
Yep. And I mean, hey, clearly she's good at it. She is very informed, knows what to do, and so there they go. They're gonna go through the trash, and then we see Nat holding Travis's shirt, and it's like a tender moment, right? She finds a Polaroid of them, and and then something kind of weird happens. She sees him kind of like in the mirror behind him, like she sees him there. So that left me wondering, I mean, is Travis even alive at this point, right? If she's like imagining him, I don't know. It was a little creepy.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a picture of them as adults. She sees him as an adult. I mean, they've clearly kept in touch a little bit throughout the years.
For them to have at least one adult picture of them, yes.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And and then Misty's so great in this episode. I love it. We go back to the past, and we're at the lake, and Misty's with Ben, and she tells him to take his shirt off and she'll squirt him.
Yeah, and Ben says, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And so she pours water over his head anyway, and has this like super weird, creepy kind of smile as she's squirting him. And the word squirt is kind of funny anyway. Like, I feel like it evokes like a certain vibe. So she's here talking about squirting, and we're watching her squirt him with this bottle, and so there's just there's a lot to unpack with that squirting scene.
Take your shirt off and I'll squirt you. I'm gonna make a ringtone of Misty saying that, I think.
That would actually be a good shirt design too, and with like some like little water drops or something. Yeah. I feel like we could get creative with a Misty squirting shirt there. So we'll put that on the list. Oh boy.
Yeah, and but Ben's not having that, and so obviously she just pours the water over him anyway. But
so creepy.
I love Akilah. Ty's sitting there braiding her hair, and Akilah just looks over, and she's like, "Yeah, if that girl poured water on my head, she what did she say? She said, if that girl poured water on my head, didn't she say like a leg wouldn't be the only thing she'd be losing?"
Yeah, like she was just kind of like, that bitch better not be pouring water over me, or something along those lines.
Yeah, for sure.
I did not write down the exact quote. Or
I didn't either, and it was such a funny line, which I don't know why I didn't. I should have scribbled that down. It was really
there's
funny.
So many funny lines in this episode.
There really are. Yeah, and she tells Ty that she's got the JV team fooled, and that she's not that much of a bitch. And I'm kind of get the idea that Ty is like, she picks and chooses who she's a bitch to, and she's super cool to some people, and she's a little bitchier to others.
Right, like she's got this armor on, right? And she chooses, like you said, who to let her guard down around, and take the armor off and be her true self. But it seems like 80% of the time she's a badass bitch. So
yeah, for sure. And the girls are still in the water, and some of them are playing chicken, and Jackie and Mari are kind of sitting together in the sand, and Mari's just rambling on about how, now that we've totally bonded, we should move our lockers together when we get back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Random. And Jackie's just, she's completely up Jackie's ass, and Shauna's kind of watching this whole thing, and while she's in the water, and Jackie's just not interested in the conversation. But soon as she sees Shauna looking over, she immediately just like tunes in and is just,
whatever,
trying to make Shauna jealous, basically.
Mm-hmm. And that's about the halfway mark of the episode. And we then move back again to the present timeline and back to Travis's house. And Misty actually finds his pay stub from a place called Willowbrook Ranch. Natalie points out there's an empty bottle of whiskey on the table and says it's a $200 bottle. And Misty says, well, that's expensive taste for someone who's barely making minimum wage, which is a really keen observation. I mean, why is some, guy working a minimum wage job drinking $200 bottles? Strange.
Yeah, for sure. And we do get an explanation for that later, fortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Not, later on down the season, but yeah. Putting those citizen detective skills to the test.
That's right. She should really be carrying a badge around. She needs to make it a little more official. And then, the cops show up and arrest them because, of course, they are breaking and entering and trespassing. And so they go to jail, which we'll see in the next scene or down the line here. But this next scene in the present timeline was one of my favorite things. And I think, Shauna gets my MVP for this episode for this. So she talk about citizen detectiving, first of all, right? So she shows up at the hotel front desk. The attendant won't give her any room information. Of course, she's trying to figure out, like, where is my husband? Who is he with? What room is he in? And Shauna says, look, I don't want to have to do this, but I'm with Homeland Security. We're undercover, but we just tracked our guy here, and now all we need is the room. I have my badge in my pocket, but this motherfucker has eyes everywhere. If I show it to you, I might get made. And I just love that. Like, she is not afraid to just go and kind of be an idiot, right? Because clearly she's not, Homeland Security, and this front desk attendant is not buying it. But I love that she put herself out there. So for that reason, she's my MVP of the episode. And then we have Adam appear. Perfect timing.
Yeah, who knows what he's doing there? Right? But he was so perfect. Just moved in flawlessly and approaches her and says, Agent Smith, DC's on the line, briefing.
I love that. He just swooped in and saved the day. But, like, really, what the fuck is he doing there? Like, why is he at the hotel? Is he following Shauna? So I thought that was really funny. And Shauna, of course, says, oh, my God, what are you doing here? And, he says, well, I'm going to ask you the same thing. But apparently the answer is anti-terrorism. So anyway, Adam does say that he came there for a drink. His studio's down the street, and the hotel bar makes a classic martini. And then they decide to get a drink together. Yeah.
And I love how she tells him, if a bomb goes off, that's on you. She's so funny.
Yep. And I love those two together. Like, we've only seen them together a couple of times, but they clearly have this kind of cool connection. So
I like what he brings out in Shauna.
Yes, it's like she's more fun and authentic and not just, so I mean, she's still her kind of angry self, but like they play off each other really well. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. And then we're catching up with Misty and Natalie again, and this was so great. I love this. They're in jail, and Misty gets so excited and just excitedly runs up to Natalie, and she's like, I bet he thinks we're hookers.
Like, another great Misty one-liner. I love that. And I love that she's so randomly excited about people thinking that she's a hooker. Like, I mean, she's so, like, sexually charged with all of these guys she's dating and, all the stuff. So I bet he thinks we're hookers. Misty, you are too funny.
I love her. But and Natalie asks Misty why she took her battery cable, and Misty tells her she just wanted to come with her and didn't think she'd let her.
Shocker. She definitely would not have let her come, obviously. Yeah. So, Misty got her way, and apparently she made the right choice to get her way. So,
at least Misty, kind of seems to have a firm grip of reality,
Yep. And then they make their phone calls. So Nat actually goes and calls Ty Collect Ty refuses to bail her out and hangs up on her. And it was implied there too that Ty actually paid for Nat's rehab. Maybe just this time, maybe frequently throughout the past, we're not really sure, but we do find that connection where, Nat says to her, I never asked you to pay for it. So I find it interesting, that Ty is taking that responsibility financially, for Natalie. So interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to know the motivation behind that.
Yep, absolutely. And then we're back to the past again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and the girls are still having chicken fights, and then Ty and Van just kind of share this pretty loaded smile. So it looks like there might be something going on there.
Yeah, that nonverbal communication was definitely paramount in that scene. And I think that, shows us a little something between the two of those girls.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then Lottie sees something on the hill and lets everybody know, and everybody decides to go check it out. And they find an empty cabin, and creepy looking as hell.
Super creepy, like moss growing all over it. It was definitely a creepy cabin, but a cabin nonetheless, which clearly they need some kind of shelter in the wilderness. So good eye by Lottie.
Yeah, for sure. And they realize that nobody's been there in a very long time. And Jackie finds some canned food that's just completely rotted. Yeah.
And they also find, Van finds some episodes of Big Bodacious Babes and some other pornographic material. And, the girls are kind of poring over them with wide eyes, laughing, looking at the pornographic magazines in this cabin in the woods. So, that was kind of a little bit of comic relief in there. That was a funny moment.
And Travis has a great line here too.
I love this. Oh my God.
Marty says, do guys actually jerk off to this stuff? And he says, no, we hate that shit. You can't even tell what her favorite book is.
Oh my God. I love that. And the way he delivered the line, I thought was really smart and just so nonchalant. That was, again, with the one-liners in this episode, the writers are just so good. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
I at first thought he said you can't even tell how big her book is, which would also be funny. But yeah, it works both ways.
Yep, it sure does. And then Travis grabs the magazine, and Javi follows him outside, and of course he wants to see it. Travis yells at him to spit the gum out again. Oh my God, poor Javi with the gum his dad gave him. This is so sad. Javi refuses, and Travis ends up wrestling the gum away from him and says, in kind of a pissed off manner, Dad was a dick, Javi. He's the whole reason we're in this hell, and now he's dead. Dad is fucking dead. And Travis is very angry about it. We're not seeing a lot of the sad emotion from him. We are seeing a lot of anger, resentment, and I guess who could blame him if they do have a strained relationship.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about with them,
with many things.
Yeah.
And that takes us again to the present timeline, back to jail.
Yeah. And Nat's coming back from her unsuccessful attempt at getting Ty to bail them out. And she says, Misty asked her who she called, and she said someone who I thought was a friend, and I guess I was wrong. And they let Misty out to make a call. And Nat says, who do you have to call, your bird? And Misty just says, Caligula hasn't learned to use the phone yet.
In such a nonchalant way. It's so funny how casually she delivers some of these lines.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we are back at the hotel with Adam and Shauna. They're chatting over their martinis, and Shauna tells him that she's confirming a suspicion. She asks why he's there, and he was just getting a drink, and makes it kind of seem like serendipity, like the universe is bringing them together, not like he was stalking her or watching her, which we don't know that he was. Right. I was just saying, I think it's really weird and creepy, and maybe it is fate that they both ended up there together, but kind of coincidental.
Yeah, for sure. And and then they're back at the jail, and the cop says your friend phoned a winner, and it turns out that the person she called was our friend Kevin Tan, who, when they ran into him at the bar, Misty had pocketed his business card. And we find out that she's been texting him, pretending to be Nat.
Like, what? Who is this catfisher? Like, what is she doing? Oh my god!
And and we didn't talk about the fact that while they were in the car on the way to Travis's, and she was talking about guys, her phone goes off and she gets a text message, and she starts she kind of smiles like she's flirting with somebody, and Nat asks who it is, and she's like, just a friend for now. So she was clearly chatting with Kevin Tan.
Right. And what I loved about her next line is, Nat says, like, what have you been saying to him? And she says, well, mainly I've just been trying to channel you. So, dark and deadpan, which I thought was great. And I feel like that could make another fun shirt design, dark and deadpan, like, be like Nat or something. I don't know. But dark and deadpan, those two words so accurately describe Natalie, and Misty is spot on. And she's very intuitive with being able to, pretend to be somebody else. But apparently she's very adaptable.
Yeah. And Natalie just kind of comes back with, yeah, I can only imagine. And Misty's like, yeah, kind of like that.
Yep, exactly. She just proves the point right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we go back to 1996 again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jackie had kind of stormed out and thrown a tantrum earlier and was just really frustrated. I have to say, this was hard for me to watch because this has to be my biggest pet peeve out of all of my pet peeves, is seeing people complain about things they can't change.
Right. I mean, it's hard sometimes because naturally, that's your natural reaction. Of course, you want to complain, but it's not helping anybody.
Right. They're all stuck in the situation together. They all need to pull together, and Jackie's just kind of throwing a tantrum over the whole thing.
And she's really the only one. Like, everyone else seems to be maintaining a pretty reasonable attitude and outlook except for her.
Yeah, exactly. And she's just kind of sulking by herself on the front porch. And Shauna decides to come out. She starts feeling a little bad for her, and she comes out, brings her a blanket, and apologizes, and just kind of explains, she's just scared, and none of them know what they're doing, and she just really needs her best friend right now. And that kind of melts Jackie a little bit. And Jackie just gives her a big hug and tries to calm her. So Jackie and Misty both clearly seem to their weakness is feeling needed, it seems.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And oh gosh, this next scene, we see Ben swatting flies away from his head and his leg stump. And I mean, it almost made me want to vomit in my mouth. And, for a second I was thinking, maybe Coach Ben should actually be my MVP for literally losing his leg and not losing his complete shit. Because I know if my leg was off and there were flies swarming around it, I would be having a pretty major tantrum. So he's holding it together pretty well, considering that there are fucking flies swarming around his stump.
Yeah. For a second he is. Yeah. And the poor guy he falls off the porch, and they just hear this scream, and that's when he finally he just melts down, and he just he was so good. Steven Kruger was so good, because you felt like you could actually feel the pain that he was going through. And, it was just he'd held his shit together, and he just
couldn't do it any longer. Could not do it any longer.
Yeah. And he was just screaming, fuck you. Why am I like this? Why couldn't I have died? And this scene is really kind of what the biggest contributor to why I gave Misty the most likely to spot this week to inspire a Misery prequel, because she she kind of, well, she approaches him, and first he punches her in the face, which, I mean, was just, he didn't mean to. It was just a reflex, but I still think he should have apologized at least afterwards. But
they're kind of even. Like, she chopped his leg off, so
yeah, I know. But he punches her in the face, and she just she waits a couple seconds for him to calm down a little bit, and then comes back up to him and just embraces him, and she's like stroking his head, and she's like, we need you, and that's why you didn't die, and I'm here for you, Ben. And she just kind of keeps whispering that in his ear with this creepy smile on her face.
Super creepy. And I just want to note also the grip in which she started embracing like his head and neck. Like, for a split second, I actually thought she was going to put him out of his misery and snap his neck. I did not screen grab that to show, but like, she's kind of like, wrapped around him, and it looks like she's just like one twist away from just like snapping his neck. So I got that vibe. I was glad to see she did not snap his neck.
Yeah, no kidding.
But like, seriously though, like, poor Coach Ben, like, he really like did his very best to hold it together until he fell off the porch. And like, poor guy, like he's wearing the lost leg as well as he can at this point.
Yeah, you're in a situation like that, you have to melt down at some point.
Yep, absolutely. And after it looked like Misty was going to snap his neck and kill him, and she did not, we see another flashback to Ty's childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's with her grandma again, and she's kind of singing this little song, and suddenly her grandmother she stiffens up, and she looks like she sees something and just starts yelling, "Don't come over here!" And she sees what looks like Michael Jackson with no eyes.
And, it does look a lot like Michael Jackson, and funny because he actually has a song called The Man in the Mirror. And
yes.
This is like a Michael Jackson looking man in the mirror here. And just like a totally random fun fact, Michael Jackson died on my birthday. So like every year I'm always like, oh my God, it's the anniversary of Michael Jackson's death. It was such a weird day. But anyway, two Michael Jackson references here, and you were spot on with saying, this creepy guy has like super pale skin, and it doesn't look like he has any eyes. It's very, very creepy.
Yeah, and Taissa's like, "Who are you talking about?" And the grandma says, "That man with no eyes." And Taissa turns around and sees him and starts screaming.
Oh my God, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
So creepy.
Yeah, exactly. And then goes to the present, and she's checking on Sammy. And she asks him if he understands why he was punished. And she says, when people do bad things, they should get punished, don't you think? And he says, yes, he agrees. He was so cute here. I just wanted to squeeze him. And then she says, well, okay, then next time you'll use your words and not your fists. And in the morning you can have Manny, his doll, back. And he asks her why people don't like her. I know. And she says, I'm different from what people expect, and it scares them. But whatever they say about me, I hope you know it isn't true. That's a great t-shirt quote too.
That is. I mean, we're pulling lots of good one-liners here. Gotta get our merch designs. Yes.
But Sammy has a really important line here next. He says, I know, you're not the bad one. And Taissa says, Sammy, is someone else the bad one? And Sammy just kind of closes off and says goodnight and rolls over.
Oh, so creepy. Like, poor Sammy. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine like what's going on in his head. I mean, there's a lot of things happening there.
Yeah, for sure. And then Taissa she leaves his room, and then she's like kind of, mulling something over, and she picks up the phone and calls Phil Bathurst and attacks him. And she says, she brings up the attack ad, and she says, I won't think twice about destroying you, your family, and your entire existence. Another move like that, and your daughter's face is above the fold of every newspaper in the tri-state area. Don't fuck with me, Phil.
Whoa. And we know not to fuck with Taissa because, we've already seen her break somebody's leg basically right in half, which, she wasn't fully intending to break it, but like, she's pretty intense, and, I would not fuck with Taissa either.
No, don't fuck with Taissa.
Do not get on her bad side. And then we go back to the past timeline again. Ty goes to check on Lottie, who's outside, another Ty focused scene. Lottie doesn't want to go in because she has a bad feeling about the place. And, a bad feeling, I don't believe in that shit, and you're not going to either, okay? So get your ass inside. Taissa's showing her emotional side here. She's trying to comfort Lottie and, say, this bad feeling, it's nothing. Get over it, right? So,
yeah, and it's really interesting considering, what was going on when she was a little girl, that she's just, she just blows it off so easily.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. But we find out that Lottie is pretty intuitive, so we'll see that here in a second.
Yeah.
And in the next scene, we have rotating Ty timelines, 3 of them simultaneously.
Well, we should mention first that they very quickly show Adam and Shauna going into a hotel room.
Oh, that's right. That was like a 3-second thing. You're absolutely right.
And gosh, we're all over the place. I just realized we forgot to bring up something super important. That when they're getting drinks, she sees Jeff. We didn't mention that part.
That's right. And she sees him and says, I think that's when she says that she was trying to confirm her suspicion, is maybe when she sees him. Yes.
And she sees him walking with this woman, with this blonde woman. And, the whole episode, I'm thinking, God, what an asshole. He's cheating on Shauna. That's terrible. Then when I saw them, as soon as I saw them, I'm like, there's something else going on. That dude he's not sleeping with her.
Yeah, you could tell, kind of the vibe. But we should also point out, regardless of if he's cheating or not, Shauna's also sitting at the bar having drinks with another dude whose number, she wrote on her arm. So
yeah.
Neither one are completely innocent and are both being sneaky in some fashion here.
Exactly. So sorry to go back to the past. I just realized we hadn't talked about that.
No, we are all about being thorough here at the Antler Queens.
Yes. Yeah. So go ahead. You were gonna kind of walk us through the weird timeline switch here.
Yes, we have 3 simultaneous rotating timelines, all Taissa's, and there's some super ominous kind of creepy music. First, we see the way past. Ty's approaching her grandmother's casket at the wake, and oh my God, she opens her eyes to see like the white in her eyes. And I'm just thinking like, I was probably her age when I went to a funeral, and there was no chance ever I would have put my hand anywhere on a dead person. Like,
yeah, but also who the hell worked on her grandma? I mean, they're supposed to glue the eyes shut. It's like they put those little white caps in and then they glue them shut. But no, she got those eyes all the way open.
God, so like, did they do a bad job on the?
I don't know.
You're right though. They usually do either like glue them or sew them or something. But
yeah.
But like for her to even put her hands in the casket, I was like, whoa, that's next level.
Yeah, no kidding.
No fear. I mean, And then another timeline we see in the present. She goes down to her basement and she finds Manny, who is Sammy's doll. And Manny is on the basement floor. He's super roughed up and he's missing an eye. So like something happened to the doll. Like it looks pretty destroyed there on the floor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then it's what's kind of interesting is that the next scene, it flashes to 1996 and Taissa finds the upstairs with the ladder. There's a ladder going upstairs. It's kind of hidden in a closet. So I don't even know if they realized that there was an upstairs yet.
Didn't they hear like a creaking or something on the floor above them before they even went to check it out?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe they did something.
I could be wrong. But yes, then they go up the ladder. And
Taissa goes up to check it out. And Lottie's just kind of sitting there just looking freaked out. And she says, I told you. And Taissa turns around and sees a skeleton sitting in a chair. And there's a symbol carved into the floor. And, what's interesting is it's the same symbol that we see throughout the show, but we've already
on the tree. We've seen it on the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. We've already seen it on the tree at this part, but in all 3 timelines, I mean, there's this theme of missing eyes.
Yes. And, you know, just a quick note on the symbol. A lot of the fandoms are discussing, you know, this. We don't know yet exactly what it is, but it seems it could be related to hobo code. A lot of the fans are, you know, saying that this particular symbol, you know, could be a combination of different hobo code symbols.
You know what, I think it's, I mean, it's, you know, it's obviously it's obviously some type of original sigil. But it's, I think it could be a combination of a few different things. Um, a lot of people are saying hobo code. Some are saying like sacred geometry. But
Oh, because we do have the trig references everywhere too. So that's an
yeah,
interesting observation. Yep.
but the hook on the bottom looks exactly like the symbol for Saturn.
Ooh,
Yeah. So it's, and you know
interesting.
what's funny is this is embarrassing, but I wasted like 2 hours of my time a few weeks ago just getting lost in this rabbit hole of trying to decode the symbol. And I came across the like the symbol for Lucifer.
Oh,
And it's not, I mean, it's not the same there, but it's very similar. It kind of has like a, it has some similarities,
hmm.
which I found interesting.
And you know that hook part on the bottom too, I've seen people talking about can relate to something that happens in future episodes, which
Mhm.
we won't mention now. But there's all kinds of speculation.
Yeah.
Essentially, nobody knows. It's funny, like people are rocking like shirts and bumper stickers. I feel like someone might have even gotten a tattoo. I thought I saw in a fan group. But it's funny because some people are like, "Hey, like you don't even know what this symbol means. You know, maybe we should wait to find out." But I think people are just so excited and, you know, owning it and very into Yellowjackets. They're just putting it out there. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested to see what the symbol means once we do finally find out.
Yeah. And we're not gonna figure it out until the show tells us, because, you know, I think they were really careful to try to make it as original as possible and let people come to their own conclusions.
Absolutely. So after that scene where we see the dead cabin hunter skeleton in the rocking chair and the symbol carved on the floor, we're back at the present for the final scene. And
Mhm.
we see Nat and Misty arrive at Willowbrook Ranch. And oh boy, what do they find?
They find Travis hanging by a noose. And Misty tries to stop Natalie from going over there, and Natalie sees it, and oh my god, this just broke my heart. She sees him and just
Ugh.
like falls down crying, just sobbing. It was so sad.
I
And
can't even imagine like finding somebody that you care about or actually anybody at all, you know, in that situation. It was rough, and it was like really high up in this
yeah,
barn. Like it was, the placement of it didn't seem very like suicide-y to me.
yeah,
um
yeah. I don't know. It looked like he was hanging from like a. Was he hanging from like the rafters, or was he hanging from
like
like
a
a
crane or
machinery?
something.
Yeah,
It
that's what
looked
I
like a
thought.
piece of machinery, like a crane or something, and it was pretty high up there. So it's
Wow,
not like he
super
just
high
like
up.
stepped on a step ladder and, you know, let himself go. Like there was it looked like a whole orchestrated situation for that to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. And what's interesting is, I mean, almost immediately after they see him, they hear sirens. So the police somehow already know, have been alerted to this. And so, you know, they rush out of there. But it's, you know, you gotta wonder. I mean, it's possible he could have called the police maybe before he did it, you know? I mean, or somebody else could have.
Like where did the
Called the
sirens
police.
come from and why? I mean, there's a lot of you know, unanswered questions there. So
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting that Misty and Natalie did not have to phone it in. They were already on their way.
yep. But poor Nat. Like that was really
Mhm.
hard to watch. And then we actually see them you know, driving, and we see another reference to Misty's citizen detective skills. She had done that trick where you find the piece of paper they last wrote on, and then you like, you know, scratch the pencil over it to see the last thing they wrote before the page was torn off.
Mhm.
And the note says, "Tell Nat she was right." And Nat insists that Travis did not kill himself. And I've got to say, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And she and Misty asks her too, do you know what you're right about? And Natalie has no clue what it means. But she says she knows she's right about this. He didn't kill himself.
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody ever really believed that he killed himself. I think the general consensus among the viewing audience is that somebody was behind it.
Yep, absolutely. And we need to find out why. Lots of questions. We get another answer here with this mystery box format. We find out, where Travis is and his situation, but it just opens up so many more questions.
I think I know who's behind it.
Well, we do find out, and we don't want to give spoiler alerts. Maybe we should, from now on, do like a segment at the very end where we say, hey, we're going to give some spoiler alerts. Tune out if you haven't watched. And, we kind of discuss some of this foreshadowing stuff. Maybe not for today, maybe for next time.
Yeah.
Something we can talk about. So that's the episode. We end on a very sad note.
Yeah.
Yes. And we talked a little bit about the music in this episode. Music from episode 3. We had Dreams from the Cranberries. We had Grandma's Hands from Bill Withers. Cambodia by Kim Wilde. Vienna by Ultravox. And Mr. Mistopheles, Andrew Lloyd Webber from the Cats original Broadway. So again, Cranberries for me did it. I owned all the Cranberry CDs, and I was like devastated when Dolores O'Riordan died. So I liked that song choice very much.
For me, I mean, that's probably my favorite song. That's probably my favorite song from this episode, but I've got to go with my pick for this week has to be Vienna by Ultravox, just because it's such a haunting song. And we hear that song a couple other times throughout the season. And it kind of it is kind of attached to Natalie and Travis. And it's so haunting, and it's just a really great, it adds a real punch of feeling, I think, every time that song comes out.
Absolutely. The music choice in general, like I say in every single episode, is just so spot on. They're so smart with the music, the nostalgia, a lot of the product placement and brand mentions, really clever writing team, and another great episode. Next week coming up, we have episode 4, which is called Bear Down. And I cannot wait to cover that. And before we go, also, I wanted to share this cute photo of my friend Dana, who received her Antler Queens cute tank top. Thank you, Dana, for purchasing that. And we've got all kinds of designs. You can get your Antler Queens podcast merch at antlerqueenspodcast.com. Go check it out. And if you do buy something, I know a couple of my other friends out there have, take a picture, and we would love to feature you, here on the podcast. And, that said, also, there are so many Yellowjackets, like TikToks and Reels and Vines accounts out there. So if you've got a fun edit, we would love to show that here also, especially for next week. If you've got anything related to episode 4, DM us at any of our accounts. And we want to get more fans involved. So tell us your favorite 90s moments, your favorite songs, share your creative edits and reels. We just want to get fans involved as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it for the episode.
I think so too. We will be back next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And you can listen to us anytime. Visit Antler Queens Podcast. Actually, I believe the Antler Queens Podcast, theantlerqueens.com. Let me get that right. theantlerqueens.com. And that will have links to all of our social media profiles and where you can listen. We are still working on getting approved for Apple Podcasts. That is in process. So be patient. You can find us on the others in the meantime.
Yes.
And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. And hey, Kelly.
What's up?
Buzz off.
Buzz off.
Antler Queens